Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be going over the most fun classes to play in the War Within. This is probably the question I get asked the most in my videos and on stream. And what about what classes I enjoy the most? I figured I'd make a video on it. I'm splitting this into three different categories. One, having the most fun on, which is pretty much what I play almost all the time. I just can't get enough playing them. Playing a lot off stream and etc. Second is fun but not my favorite, so the classes I just go after I'm done playing the ones in the top row. I still love playing them, it's just not to the extreme amounts as I do with the first row. And then the final row is classes I play very rarely, I just don't have as much fun on them, but I still play them every once in a while. So, first class is Druid. They could be Feral, Guardian, Resto, and Boomkin. Druid has been my main pretty much almost every single expansion, minus like one of them. And I think all specs are pretty fun. I'm mostly a DPS person, so I don't play Guardian and Resto as much. I think Resto's kind of a little bit weak at the moment, from what I hear. And Guardian Druid's still alright, but they aren't really the flag carriers, surprisingly, this expansion. Feral Druid is one of the best melee specs in the game at the moment. I've been playing it a lot. If you enjoy a bleed playstyle dot type of class slash spec, then Feral will be for you. It's very, very strong. I don't know how long it'll last this expansion because they did nerf it in the past, so they might nerf it in the future. Who knows? Or maybe it'll get bad down the expansion with stats. I don't know. But Feral is pretty good. Their survivability is actually a little bit better this expansion. They were pretty bad in Dragonflight, but survivability is actually pretty decent, and that was one of the cons. Pros, it's very, very good if you're Night Elf for Shadow Mode for the extra stun. That is very nice. They make very good flag carriers. This expansion, they can use Battleground Blitz to steal bases. Kind of similar to how like rogues can were really good with sap caps and ninjaing bases like in AB, Deep Wind, Gilneas and stuff. Well, Feral Druid can now pretty much do that in Battleground Blitz only because the capturing the base is pretty fast in that mode. So you can just cyclone somebody unless they have a hunter's pet, which is might be a problem. And then you can just ninja the base. It's really nice. Balanced Druid has always been pretty good with Battlegrounds because they're just always designed that way. I would say the biggest con for Boomkin, as somebody who loves Boomkin and has mained it every expansion, is that their survivability is really bad at the moment. So do keep that in mind if you plan on playing Boomkin this expansion. But other than that, the AoE build is finally nice again. They're getting changes soon in the next anniversary patch, which is soon. Although if you're seeing this in the future, it's probably already out. And everything else is kind of similar to Feral. They got one of the best CCs in the game. They got a good mobility. They're really good in team fights for Balanced Druid. Feral's really good for 1v1. So yeah, if you want to play Druid, it can pretty much just do practically everything. I could always keep going on and how good Druid is, but I'm sure you guys kind of get the point. So that's why I'm having the most fun on Druid. Up next is Mage. I enjoy my Mage sometimes. It's not as bad to get on that don't have as much fun, but I do enjoy it, my Mage. I can only really speak for Frost for this one. I don't really enjoy Arcane as much. I don't really enjoy Fire as much. I do enjoy Frost. If you enjoy just irritating people with the amount of slows and roots this expansion, which have become absolutely insane for some reason, I feel like this expansion has just increased the amount of slows that just annoy people, then Frost will be for you. If you like kiting people as well, Arcane can be good as well. There's every like once in a while there's a rare Arcane mage and he just absolutely kites every melee, and they're probably just as annoying as Frost is. So, if you want to kite melee pretty well, then I would play Frost or Arcane. Fire can hit pretty dang hard, but I don't think it has the kiting capabilities that Frost and Arcane do. That's just my opinion. But like I said, I don't play a lot of Fire and Frost. One more good thing about mages at the moment is that Ice Wall is a thing, and I cannot tell you enough how many battlegrounds I have won with Ice Wall. Like that ability can carry a group so hard sometimes. So if you want to play something that can carry a battleground pretty well, I would say not Arcane Mage. I would say Mage in general can kind of do that because, like I said, Ice Wall is just so huge for battlegrounds. It's massive. And then, like I said, the whole slows thing can really help in team fights as Frost as well. So I would recommend playing Frost if you want to just be a caster. And in my opinion, casters are very powerful in battlegrounds, unlike melee, because it's a lot safer to stand in the back. I feel like I get blown up a lot more as a melee class. So that's why casters are a lot more fun to me. So, not saying Mill is bad. So I know some people might think I just said that Miller are bad. They're not. But yeah, if you want to play something that has decent mobility, has a lot of slows to cutting melee, can heal an ice block, has tons of decent defenses, then Mage will be for you. And Ice Wall's the thing. So 100% give Mage a try. Up next is Devastation. Some people will have issues with this just because of the whole dragon form thing. Like a lot of the main complaints that I see about Devastation is they don't like the race more than the class. I think the class is really fun. It's especially got 100 times more fun this expansion. And I don't play Augmentation and Healer still. But Augmentation is more of a support type of class. So if you're into something that wants to play something like more support, then Augmentation will be for you. It's kind of similar to Red Paladins, where they're more of like support, except Augmentation is basically literally like a support class. So if you want to play something that's more supportish instead of just like something like a warrior that just goes ham and on people, then Augmentation will be for you. Preservation is very strong at the moment. They're like an AoE type of a healer. They also do some pretty insane damage at the moment for a healer class. So if you're into that type of healer, you can play Preservation. Devastation Evoker is what I play, and it is so much fun this expansion. It's a hard-hitting caster. It's probably one of the hardest hitting specs in the game, so if you're into big numbers, Devastation will be for you. It's also one of the highest mobility classes in the game, not specs, because Devastation is just, Evoker is just one whole high mobility class. They also, this expansion, got controllable Deep Breath, which Deep Breath is one of their main abilities. And before, you would have to like line it up and then use it again, and it was super annoying. And then when you're in the air while you use it this expansion, you can kind of just move yourself around, and it is so nice. It feels so good. It's one of my favorite things about this expansion. Also, when you're done using it, you get 2 hovers back, which gives you even more mobility to kite people. So it is really fun. Now for the cons, that I'm sure a lot of people will know about this class is that it has 25-yard range. So it might irritate some people. It sometimes does feel bad playing with 25-yard range. It is kind of squishy, so do keep that in mind. You'll probably have an easier time versus melee than casters, because it's a lot easier to kite the melee than the casters. And that's about the only con, is just the squishiness and the range. I actually think I have more irritation with the range than the squishiness. But yeah, if you can get past that, you will definitely enjoy this class. It's a lot of fun. Up next is Priest. I don't have as much fun as my Priest. I feel like ever since the hard casting change they did in Dragonflight, it's just not been as fun. Discipline Priest is pretty much insanely God mode at the moment, so if you want to be like that, you can play Discipline Priest. Holy Priest, I don't see too many of them, and like I said, I'm not a healer person, which is why I don't play Discipline Priest or Holy Priest. But I think they're probably okay-ish for now. Shadow Priest, they did get recently buffed. I've seen their damage do a little bit better than before, but they are essentially pretty much the only caster I feel like in the game at the moment that actually has to hard cast their abilities. And if you get interrupted on your hard casting go, which you could just CC somebody on all that, but I'm sure I've seen this a lot on videos because I've watched a few Shadow Priest videos, and everybody in the comment section says the same thing, and I definitely felt it on my Shadow Priest, is that having a ton of melee on you in like a soul shuffle or sometimes battle rounds can be very frustrating because you just can't really do much. But yeah, I know some people can make it work. I'm sure there will be some people that say in the comment section that they do fine on their Shadow Priest and all that, and that's perfectly fine, but I'm just giving my personal opinion on it. And if you want to play a hard casting priest or hard casting class like priest, they do have some fun things about them. Like mind control is one of the most fun things in the game. You can mind control people off the cliff. You can void swap and save somebody or save yourself. Also, one more thing about mind control is that I've done this in Battlegrounds, so it's really funny. You can make people kill their own teammate. I've done that before. It's absolutely hilarious. Leap of Faith is one of the most useful abilities in the game to save somebody. It's definitely gotten me some Battleground caps. And yeah, there's just a bunch of stuff that priests have that utility wise. Alright, up next is Hunter, and I'm putting this on the most fun category. It's been something I always have one of the more classes to have fun on. I play a lot of Marksman Hunter, but I do sometimes play Survival as well. I don't play a whole lot of Beast Mastery, but all three Hunter specs I hear are doing pretty good at the moment. I think Beast Mastery might be getting a nerf, but like I said, I don't play a lot of Beast Mastery. I don't see a whole lot of them as well. But if you're into a class that doesn't have, that doesn't get interrupted a lot, like the only way to get interrupted pretty much is just by getting like obviously CC'd, which you could say that about any class, or getting disarmed, but you cannot be kicked at all. That Hunter will be pretty much be for you. Beast Mastery, you control a lot of pets. Just be warned that I think the biggest con of Beast Mastery is that the pets can kind of be annoying to deal with sometimes, even with pet macros, which is what I use. So just do keep that in mind for things like Battlegrounds. Marksman Hunter is one of the specs in the game that pretty much is very strong for Battlegrounds, like almost all the time. So if you do a Battlegrounds like me or love World PvP like me, then Marksman Hunter will probably be for you, just because they've always been pretty much good in those situations. Plus, you can just shoot way farther in the back compared to most classes and just snipe things, and it's just very useful. They also got some survivability buffs this expansion, so they can actually live longer than they did in the past while also having some insane damage that is pretty much uninterruptible. So, yeah, Marksman Hunter is very, very strong. Survival Hunter is pretty much a mixture of both melee and range, so if you want something that can be played both melee and ranged at the same time, then Survival will probably be for you, and I think that's pretty much the only spec in the game that can pretty much do both. So, if you want to play a mixture of both, then Survival will pretty much be for you. And, yeah, that's pretty much it for Hunter. Up next is Paladin. I haven't had as much fun with my Paladin this expansion, surprisingly. I thought I would. This goes back to what I said about augmentation before. I think augmentation and reds are pretty much the two pretty much supporting classes in the game. I don't have as much fun on my ret, I think, because there's just so many roots and slows this expansion. They do have like obviously freedom to get out of it and all that. But I just feel like the slows are so oppressive this expansion, which is why I haven't enjoyed my red as much. But Reds do some pretty good damage. I've seen them. They do some pretty good damage when they connect. They pretty much are a mini ranged class too, because most of their spells are ranged. So you can still hit people even if you are being kited, but it still is kind of just frustrating to deal with the whole slows and roots all the time, because there's just so many mages and hunters and all that out in the game at the moment. So it's part of the reason why I haven't played my red as much. So if you can get past like the whole mobility thing this expansion, like I know reds have freedom and horse, and they're a little bit of a ranged class, so I guess it's not as bad as I'm making it out to seem. But I think it's just mostly because of the whole mages and all that this expansion, which is why I haven't enjoyed my red as much. But outside of that, they have okay self healing, they got bubble, they got land hands, they got shield of vengeance and all that. I mean, most of the time I don't really have, I feel like, too much of an issue with surviving on my red paladin with all the defenses they have, and plus they're a really nice support class. So yeah, I think my only complaint with them is just the amount of roots and slows from the other classes this expansion. Like, some people might disagree with me, and that's perfectly fine, but that's probably my only main thing I didn't like about Paladin this expansion. If you can get past the whole roots and all that and slows this expansion, I would definitely recommend Red. There's a channel out there called his channel is called Leveled in PvP, and he's a really good ret. I recommend watching him and uh, getting a good feel for yourself on if you want to try ret or not. Up next is Rogue. This is a class I pretty much just use when I get very frustrated with the game or frustrated with rogues in general. If you're into a class that if you want to play a class that's pretty much designed to be a solo player, like if you're a solo player like almost a good majority of the time, then I would recommend, as much as I hate admitting it, to play Rogue, because Rogue is pretty much designed for solo players. It's just they're designed to do their own thing. Rogues can just irritate people. They're not too spectacular in team fights. Like Assassin can do pretty well in team fights, but Sub is more designed to be just picking on healers or solo players or ninjing bases. Like Rogue in general is just designed to just irritate people and go off and do their own thing. They're really good at ninjing stuff. They're really good at locking healers down, and they're really good at getting rage whispers as well if you want that kind of thing. Like I could go on and say a bunch of things about Rogue, but I pretty much no matter what spec you play for Rogue, it's the best way to describe it is if you're a solo player, give Rogue a try, because that's pretty much what they're designed to be, in my opinion. If there's like any class that's designed for solo play, it's probably Rogue. So that's the best I can say about Rogues. Up next is Shaman. I haven't enjoyed my Shaman for a long time now. Elemental is pretty good for battlegrounds for the most part, almost always has been. Resto Shamans don't seem to be doing pretty bad at the moment, at least from what I've seen. I'm really not that knowledgeable on healers though, so I can't really say for sure on how Resto Shaman's doing. I don't think they're the best healer in the game, but I don't think they're doing that bad at the moment either. Enhancement is usually almost always the punching bag for Blizzard, so if you do play enhancement, just be warned that seems to be the punching bag for Blizzard. I don't think they're too spectacular at the moment. I hardly ever see any of them. If I ever see Shaman, they're almost always Elemental. So Elemental is usually almost always pretty good. So if you want to play a ranged class like Elemental, they're pretty decent at the moment, but they're not too amazing, I feel like, in 1v1s, but that's just my opinion. Anyways, that's where I'm putting my elemental, or not elemental. That's where I'm putting my shaman opinion at. Up next is Monk. I actually didn't like it at the start of the expansion, but now after playing it for so long, it's actually grown on me to the point where I've actually started playing it more off stream, and I love playing it. And Monk in general is pretty much one of the most best things in the game at the moment. Mistweaver is literally the meta for Battleground Blitz because they're almost always flag carriers and they're so freaking insane. They're probably going to get nerfed at some point. I would be surprised if they didn't, because I did the same thing for Demon Hunters and I think Druid. So, but as of right now, they're meta for Mistweaver because of flag carrying. Brewmaster, I imagine, is probably just as good because they can teleport and they got mobility and all that, but I very rarely see them. They're rare spawns, so I can't really speak for them. Windwalker is incredibly powerful at the moment. They also got a survivability buff, I feel like, this expansion. Or at least it feels that way to me, because I feel like I don't die as fast as I compared to previous expansions. And this expansion, they don't rely a lot on burst like they did in the past. They have a more so consistent damage. So if you thought about playing Windwalker in the past and didn't want to because they were just a one button Serenity button burst spec and did nothing afterwards, and you can give it a try now because they pretty much can do consistent damage now. They still have burst, but they do have consistent damage now. Up next is Warlock. I actually like Warlock a lot. I actually was debating on putting this in the first category, but I haven't been playing it a lot off stream as much as before. It's still a lot of fun. I would probably put it as my 5th favorite thing to play. But I haven't been playing it just as much as I want to, so I think I'm just going to lower it to the fun but not my favorite category. But I do play it more often than my Rogue and Mage, so I'm putting it above that. I don't play demo. I don't like playing it. It's just not my thing. But if you're into something like a pet class like Beast Mastery, then demo will probably be for you. The pros for demo, I would say, is that you can actually CC people if they're CCing you with your Felguard pet stun. So that's nice too. Other than that, it's kind of like, I feel like similar to the other specs, except that your pets just do most of the damage. I just don't really have a whole lot of knowledge on demo because I never really liked it. So, Affliction is a dot based spec, so it's if you're into that kind of thing. Its survivability has gotten weaker this expansion with the Drain Life nerf, but they do have the damage this expansion. So, if just be warned if you play Affliction, it's really fun, but I feel like it's all about damage at the moment, and your survivability is tanked. But that's just my opinion. But other than that, if you can handle that, Affliction is really fun for Battlegrounds. So you can just rot people down, and that's why I like Affliction a lot. It's one of my favorite things to play on my Warlock. Destro, I feel like it's not as strong this expansion either. It's got better survivability than Affliction does, in my opinion. It's a little bit more tanky. But I feel like the Chaos Bolt damage is a little bit low this expansion. Like, it can hit pretty high numbers, but when you play so many different classes, you kind of see all these big numbers all the time. I feel like Chaos Bolt, since you have to kind of cast it, should be doing a little bit bigger numbers, but yeah, I feel like Destro is a little bit weaker this expansion, but it's still very good. Destro is by no means bad at all. So if you want to play something that can hit some pretty decent numbers, Destro will probably be for you. Otherwise, if you want to rot teams down, Affliction will be for you. If you want to play a pet class, Demo will be for you. One more thing I want to say that Warlocks have is an ability called Shadow Rift. Kind of similar to Ice Wall for Mage, is Shadow Rift can 100% turn the tide of a battleground. I've done it so many times I lost count, similar to Ice Wall. So if you want something that can turn the tide of a battleground and feel good about yourself, I guess, then try Warlock Shadow Rift. It can pretty much win you games. For example, in AV, you can teleport them out of the boss's room and reset the boss, or you can teleport them out of the tower. Battleground Blitz, Eye of the Storm. There's like these rocks. I think there's one in Battleground Blitz. If not, there's so many different versions of Eye of the Storm. It's hard to remember. But one of the versions of Eye of the Storm has these rocks in the middle, and you can put your portal at the bottom below the rocks, and they can't hit you from down there, and Shadow Rift them, and then it'll give you time to finish off the people up there when you teleport most of them away, including the healer if possible, and then it can win you the fight and ninja the flag. So it's very useful, and those are just some examples. There's a bunch of other ways you can use it on different maps. Up next is Death Knight. I haven't really enjoyed my Death Knight as much as I thought this expansion. Like, I've been playing it, but it's in the fun but not my favorite categories, because I still play a decent amount, similar to like my Mage and Rogue. But I haven't enjoyed my my Death Knight as much as I thought I would. So it's why I'm putting in the fun but not my favorites. That I still like it occasionally, but it's not enough to be the extremes amount in the first category. The pros: Death Knight is very strong in team fights, in battlegrounds. They're very useful for death grip, so you can death grip your the main target in, and people will kill it for you. Also, they can grip everybody in at once, and if you have a ton of AoE classes on your team in small situations like Eye of the Storm middle, for example, and every AoEs at once, you can just demolish an entire team that way. Done it multiple times. It's really fun. They have really strong CC with Blinding, Sleet, and Strangulates. What's some other ones? Their mobility has gone up a little bit this expansion with Riders of the Apocalypse, so they have some decent mobility this time. You can almost hardly get away from a Death Knight, if I'm being honest, especially considering the fact that their pet summons pretty much auto-cast Chains of Ice for you, so you can almost hardly ever get away from a Death Knight. I would say their only con, and the reason why I don't enjoy my Death Knight probably as much this expansion, is I feel like their survivability is kind of like meh. You'll pretty much do insanely well versus casters, but for melee, you'll have a tougher time because their survivability from Deathstrike got nerfed this expansion. So, if you don't mind having a problem with survivability, then Death Knight will probably be for you because they're pretty much good with almost everything else. So, I do recommend trying out Death Knight just because it's still a very fun spec to play. It's just that between their Death Strike nerf, I feel like I haven't as much fun. That's my only complaint with DK at the moment. Otherwise, I would recommend trying out the class. It's a lot of fun. Up next is Warrior. Warrior used to be a thing I did not like playing either, but ever since I started playing it in Dragonflight, it's kind of grown on me. I feel like it's not really designed for solo players like me, or at least it feels that way. I feel like it's more designed for somebody that needs like a healer. Although I will say, due to their defenses this recently, they can just do pretty okay solo. But that's one of the main reasons why I don't play Warrior as often as I do. However, saying that, Fury is very, very strong at the moment. And it's the spec I play the most of. And I would recommend giving Fury a try if you're planning on playing Warrior class by yourself. Or if you are playing with a friend, you could obviously play Fury, or you can play Arms. Arms is always pretty good with a pocket healer. Prot Warriors, I've actually seen a decent amount of them, and they do pretty dang well this expansion. So if you're into playing a Prot Warrior tank, you can do really well as that. And that's about as much as I'll say about Warrior. So it's not really super amazing solo class, but you can still play it decently well by yourself. Otherwise, if you have some friends, Warrior is one of the best classes to play with a friend. And yeah. Up next is Havoc Demon Hunter, and I'm sure most people probably would think I would put this at the top because I like mobility classes, but I haven't enjoyed my Demon Hunter as much towards since the end of Dragonflight. They went really ham on their survivability nerfs, and I feel like most of the time since I've been on my Demon Hunter, like I'm sure a lot if people played Monk, they kind of know what I'm talking about. Like most of the time when you play Monk, you kind of have to run in and out. But for this expansion on my Monk, I feel like I haven't really had to do that as much. But most of the time when I play my Havoc Demon Hunter, I feel like I have to run it. Like I go into the team fight and I have to get out immediately because you don't have the self healing as much as you did in the past anymore. So um, that's the reason why I haven't enjoyed my Havoc Demon Hunter is just the survivability nerf. It feels worse than most of the other like classes like DK and Warrior, for example. At least I can live. I feel like longer before I have to get out of the team fight. But for my Demon Hunter, I feel like I never really get the chance to go into a team fight because I just have to get out immediately by the time I get in. So, and their defenses are I feel like are not as impressive either. Like some people might disagree with me on those, and that's fine. Like they have Nether Walk, which is okay, but you still get slowed through it, and you can't attack back. And it doesn't remove everything, so it's not really as an impressive thing. Darkness is kind of like alright, I suppose. Blur is good against melee, but that's about it. Um, but yeah, they just don't really have as much impressive things. They also have Glimpse, which I will say for sure is probably one of the best things because you can dodge CC that way. So I'm no Glimpse is incredibly powerful. That's probably like the best defensive. But yeah, other than survivability, if they didn't have that issue, Demon Hunters would be a lot of fun. I would recommend Demon Hunter for sure. It's a lot of fun. They could do a lot of fun things like double jump and glide is two of my favorite things about Demon Hunter. I love Demon Hunter because of those things. But I feel like until they buff their survivability a decent amount, I just don't have as much fun with my Demon Hunter. But that's just like I said, it's my opinion. I know some people are probably going to disagree with me on some of the because of that, but that's just where I'm going to put it. Anyways, that's it for the classes. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys think of what I said and my choices. And I'll see you guys for the next video. Peace.